Good morning, Karen.
I'd like to hear about that beautiful house at the corner of Goodale and Dublin, or Goodale and Grandview.
Yes.
And what it was like to look out on that road, and what was it like growing up there?
Well, the address is 1560 West Goodale Boulevard. And over the years, I look at it as we go by it all the time, and there's a lot of fond memories there. I can remember my brothers and sisters. I had 7 siblings, and we used all 3 parks for our play yard. And there was a garden at one of them, and we had a plot of ground, and we had gardens, and we used to sneak over and take other people's vegetables when we felt like it. You know, we didn't do it all the time, but it was just, if you wanted a watermelon, it was easy pickings. And we built a tree fort in one of the houses, or one of the tree near the railroad tracks. It was hard to see us. And we played baseball in the fields and football. It was just a beautiful area to grow up in, and there was a lot of traffic. And the house itself was a 6-bedroom house, and it had 3.5 baths, which was kind of unusual for that time. And it was built in the 30s, I think early 30s. And the first 3 houses from the corner north going on Grandview were the first all-electric houses in the area. And they were kind of a show place at first for electricity. So it was a beautiful place. There was an attorney by the name of Sam Morton that lived the 3rd house up, and he always had me cut his grass and shovel his sidewalks, and we carried papers there. And the other house was owned by the Brown family, and he was a candy distributor. He had vending machines, and he was also a Mr. America. And he was a weightlifter, bodybuilder, and he was a very interesting guy. He had a daughter, Susan Brown, that went to school just she's a little younger than I am. But it was just a nice, quaint area to grow up in. On top of the hill was a place called Broadview Terrace, which had a beautiful garden and a pond at one time. It's not there anymore. But it was just a nice place for a kid to walk around, and we always had a cat or a dog, and the neighbors all seemed to have animals. And, one of the most memorable things is the soapbox derby was always on the hill, and our family would sell hot dogs and potato chips and pop and things like that, and that's how we financed our vacations. And that was always a big week for the family, and also for the neighborhood and the foundation. The soapbox derby. I don't know why they don't do that anymore. They used to line the streets with big bales of straw, and they would stack it real high down by the railroad tracks. But it was closed off, and the fields there, they put up big tents, like a circus tent for all the entries could work on their cars and grease them and get them ready. And that was like a 3-day event, and then the winner would eventually go up to Akron to compete. They just kind of went all over the country, and then different people end up at the finals in Akron. I think they still do that, but they don't do it here anymore. I'd like to see that return. But we did a lot of the movie watching at the Grandview Theater on Grandview Avenue, which is a tremendous place. I had a good friend of mine, Dennis Richardson, worked there as a kind of a semi-manager, and he would change to marquees and outside. It was interesting, and there was a little confectionery next to it. A couple of sisters ran it, and they had chocolate pop and popcorn, and that's where you got your concessions there. They had the Boston baked bean candies, and oh, you could get all kinds of delicacies there. And another thing about that strip, there was a bakery right on the at the end of 2nd Avenue in Grandview. It was called Young's Bakery. It was run by an elderly woman at the time, and she had great pastries every morning. She had a baker that would work all night, and we'd go up there and buy a couple dozens of donuts and come down the hill, and we'd all have breakfast with donuts and eggs and bacon or something. But it was a place you could get fresh pastries, and also Rice Market was right up the street, or you could go to Apex Market on the corner of, I think it was Fairview and First Avenue, and it was just easy to get around. I mean, and you just needed a bicycle, but in retrospect, we walked everywhere. We had a good time here, and everybody seemed to really love the community. The festivals they had, the ox roast. I can remember as a real young kid, the baseball league. They'd have a parade, and we'd get our new shirts and ball caps, and we'd ride the fire truck or a dump truck or a flatbed, and we'd go up and down First Avenue, and it was just big doings, you know. Mm-hmm. And Halloween was always a big time here. They had a street party right there at First or at 2nd and Grandview. They had a big stage there, and the students at the high school would get together, 2 people, and they'd paint a store window of a Halloween sketch or whatever they wanted to. Ghosts, goblins, pumpkins, whatever they did, horseless head, the rider with no head. And there was a lot of artistic people here, and it was funny to walk around and see who did what painting, and then they always had cash prizes for the people, and it was interesting. We had
you trick or treat.
Everybody trick or treated. I think if they didn't have a limit, they would go all night long. But the kids just really enjoyed that. And even in my neighborhood today, the kids still seem to get a big bang out of it. But it was nice having that street party on Halloween. Everybody got together, and they had apple bobbing contests and all. It was just a lot of fun, you know. And I don't, whether they still do that now or not, I don't get down here much, but
it's at the library now. Mm-hmm.
Oh, is it?
Brought it here. Yeah. What about high school? What do you remember about walking in as a freshman?
Well, it was kind of intimidating a little bit, but I had older brother and sister that were there, and so you get the feel. It was a little overwhelming at first, but then the junior high was 7th and 8th grade, but we went to the high school for gym, and so we knew what the building was like, because it was kind of small. It seemed to has grown quite a bit since I've been here, but it was quite a jump from all the lockers in the hallways and all the people, you know. All of a sudden there's 4 times as many people running around when the bell rings as opposed to the junior high. But and it was fun going to the football games and the basketball games, and everyone just enjoying it. You know, it was a pleasant place to go. And I can remember the first dances that we had. We called them mixers, where the girls would stand on one side, the boys on the other, and then, okay, go choose a partner. Then you got, what? And most of the guys didn't know how to dance. It was kind of funny, but everybody seemed to, I guess when Elvis came along and started shaking himself, everybody felt more comfortable dancing. But it was a fun time.
And you had a favorite teacher?
Well, we had several favorite teachers. You know, like there was a science teacher, Mr. Shannon. He had a lot of energy, and he seemed to keep you awake. And then we had the industrial arts teacher, Harry Justice, and he'd come around and grab you by the fat in there and twist you if you were doing something wrong. And he'd always say, my boy, what on earth are you thinking? And that's how he talked. And he was kind of a short guy. And at all the assemblies, he would sing the alma mater, and he was a real character. And he was very instrumental in my business. He showed me how to use saws, how to make angle cuts, and how to measure things, and how to figure board feet, and those are things. At first, you don't think about it, but then when you look back, 40-some years later, it made a lot of sense.
And kind of, do you think it led you to?
Oh well, it made its life easier for me. When you figure a house or a job like a school building, I built buildings, gas stations, strip malls. You have to have a plan, and you have to bid the job that way, and that's how we did our industrial arts projects. We figured up our material, our cost of material, and that was part of the learning process of industrial arts. And believe it or not, it was a whole learning process, and it really helped me. And one of the things that really sticks out in my mind, he had a technique of rolling up an extension cord, and he showed me how just take your fingers and roll. I gotta do it like that, and it was so simple. It's still stuck today. I still roll the extension cord up the way he showed me, and it doesn't get tangled. It doesn't, but it was just a real simple way of doing it. You just roll it in your thumb as you're wrapping it up, and it works. But we had a good time with all the teachers. And Bucko Jones, Stan Jones, he's a member of our high school fraternity, and we have a golf outing to commemorate him. He was a math teacher, and he played pro football, and he was a big, rough kind of guy, and everybody looked up to him. And he was a guy you go to if you had a problem, or just wanted to ask him something a little stupid or that you wouldn't want to ask somebody, because he understood being in Grandview, being a kid, because he grew up here, and I don't know whether you've heard of him or not, but he was a great person to know. And
would he come to the meetings at the Rook House?
Oh yes,
Tell us about the house.
Oh, the Rook House. It's 1347 Elmwood. It sits back in off the road, and it started back in, if I remember, it was 1909 or somewhere around that someone donated the ground. And over the next 3 or 4 years, the brothers got together and raised money, and they started building the house. And I don't know who directed them, but it was finished, I think, by 1914, from what I can remember, or somewhere in that era. And it was just a big one-room house with a huge fireplace, and it had one bathroom in it, and then we had what we call a little den-like. We had couches in it, and in the basement we had a pop machine, and we also had a payphone upstairs. The payphone, the pop machine would help pay our taxes and our utility bills, plus our dues. I think they were I want to say $20 a month for our dues for each member. And then we'd have a donut sale every year, and we get Krispy Kreme to bring us 500 or 600 dozen donuts, and then we'd all get together, and my mom always had a station wagon or something, and we'd go up and get our donuts, and then we go up to Upper Arlington and say, well, knock on the door, we're representatives of Upper Arlington Student Council were having a donut sale. And we did sell donuts in Grandview, but we had to peddle those donuts within a few hours. So you did what you had to do to raise the money. Everybody had a quota you had to meet. And when you didn't make your quota, then like a family of our size, we were able to eat our quota. So it was a fun place being a member of the Rooks. I can see now that it brought us together as brothers closer than being in Boy Scouts or any of the other clubs that you would belong to. I was a student council member for years, and also we met once a week, and we'd have dances we sponsored at the house, and then we'd have to get a parent or someone of age. We always had to have a chaperone. That was one of our bylaws, and we had laws, rules there that no drinking, no smoking, and if you caught somebody, I think the common response would be, "I won't tell on you if you don't tell on me." So we behaved pretty good. We didn't have the police there a lot or anything, but we had record players and radios going all the time, and there was just always something going on. And one of the funniest days are report card days, when everybody come in. How'd you do? Not so well. So you could tell by the look on their face how they did, but that was a big deal.
Could you hide from your parents at the Rook House?
Just for a few hours. It wasn't. You couldn't be there. Nobody was allowed to stay overnight. It was all just be there during. I think we had to be out by 10 at the latest, and but it was a tremendous way to meet people, and even the older Rooks that you meet down the road that you didn't know in high school. They all shared the same, how can I put it, experiences with the sales, and all organizations have to raise money to exist, and that's what you have to think about it. And then we always had a secretary, treasury, and a president, and it was very interesting how we legislated everything and how we paid our bills. And
did that vary from year to year?
well, we always had a different president, secretary, and each year, and but how we raised money was about the same. We always had our donut sale. In fact, I think we may have had it twice a year on lean years. So, but in our membership, I think we pledged maybe 20 people a year, no more than that, because the place wasn't that big. You get people, freshman, junior, senior on up, sophomores, that you'd have 60-some people, and that was still quite a few. So I think the most we probably would have is 50 around there, the active members. And then, of course, the alumni people would come around and stop in and say hello.
And you all would propose who you should ask to be a member?
Well, you had to be asked. It's kind of like if you had a relative, you automatically got a bid or a pledge to, or someone sponsored you. And it had to have a sponsor. And so we had to have someone that said, "Oh, I'll vouch for this guy. He's an upstanding citizen." And so we had a process, and then we also had a blackball where if you were out and you had to do something bad, I don't think we ever kicked anybody out when I was there, but that's the way it was. If each year we looked at the candidates and we decided, well, do we want him or her, in or out, and it was like a thumbs up, thumbs down, and one thumbs down puts you out. So But a lot of people wanted to be part of it, and it was really, it's like being on looking back, it's like being on a championship team. You feel good when you're around the people that you grew up with, and we did a lot of things together. We double dated, the brothers, and we shared a lot of common. If you needed to borrow a couple dollars from somebody, it was a great experience. Not just a great experience.
What else do you want to talk about that you haven't talked about?
Well, I just can't think right offhand, but I just want to say it's just a great place to grow up, and I hope the kids now appreciate what they have here, and can take it, to wherever they go in the country, and hopefully the same quality stands here. I know I knew firemen and the police officers here, and they were very, very, very good to the people. It's like nowadays, if you do something wrong, they want to start your record with the first little thing you do. Back then, we used to do something wrong, and they take you to the police station, and they call your parents, and they didn't, they just gave you a warning, and just to let your parents discipline you. And sometimes that was
Worse.
yeah. But now they seem to want to start the police record on you the first time you do something, or you break a window or something, or it's just, I think that you got to put it back on the parents a little more than what they're doing now. And that's just my opinion on that. But Grandview the police and fire people were very, very good. I knew a lot of them because I lived right down the hill. We used to go up there. If we didn't have any pop, they had a pop machine and a candy machine. So, but that's all I really have to say, unless you have any more questions.
Thank you so much.
Well, you're more than welcome.